Welcome to Simply Caroline, a podcast dedicated to women empowerment where we will discuss a bunch of different subjects such as life, parenting, love, business, money, relationships, healing, recovery, addiction, entrepreneurship, and so much more. A podcast I'll do my best to keep simple, fun, and relatable and bring you tools to help you better your life. So thank you for being here. And here's your host, myself, Caroline Blanchard. Hello, everyone, and thank you for being with us again this week. I have an incredible businesswoman this week that is in a field that I absolutely love, fragrances. So let me introduce you to Mona Maine De Biran.
Hello, how are you? Thank you very much for having me. I'm glad to be here with everyone today.
Yes, well, we're happy to have you, and I hope I didn't, wreck your name because it's a long name. So,
that's my husband's fault.
Yes.
I'm an American California girl. I got the French husband with the French last name.
There you go. So, Mona, the name of your company is Kierin NYC.
Yes.
Tell us what this company is all about, please.
We're all about the good vibes of New York City, expressed with unique, niche, olfactive scent stories. And we can, share a little bit more about what is a scent story. But it's a perfume, a fragrance. We're gender-all, and we're clean and conscious. So as a brand, we're very much about being clean and conscious and expressive of good, positive energies and the lifestyle of New York City.
Awesome. There are so many comments I have in there because I'm all about clean and conscious products. So when you say clean, it's really about like there's no harmful chemicals, there's no, there's no animal products, because for you that's part of being clean.
Yes.
It's sustainable. It's sustainably.
Yeah. Sustainable for people and planet. I think sometimes brands, they talk about sustainability and they're only talking about the planet sort of eco-conscious aspect, but sustainability also has a people component, talking about how, ingredients are farmed and the way in which we support the communities that produce those raw ingredients, is important too. We want to take care of, the forests, the old growth forests, the environment, the soil, make sure that we have good practices as far as, usage of water and the way in which, the different farmers take care of the pesticide use or the lack thereof. But also the people, the children, are they living in, villages with access to, good, clean well water and things of that sort. So are we giving them, fair wages, fair trade? We like to partner with Robertet, which is one of the leading suppliers in the fragrance industry. They supply, the bigs, a lot of the big name brands, the, famous designer labels that you're familiar with, but only doing so in a way which is in alignment with their ethos as a family-run brand known for its natural raw ingredients and sustainability initiatives. They're one of the leaders in sustainably sourced raw materials. So we're very happy to partner with them. And, so it's about people. It's not only about the planet as well.
Yes, and I love you explained that. I love that you explained that because, quite often now we see sustainable or obtained in a sustainable way, but really it's not clear exactly what does that mean because, it's not regulated yet. So everyone has their own definition of what is sustainable. So thank you for explaining that. Now, when you say you went into fragrance, that's a very niche market, right? Mm-hmm. It's not an easy market to say, okay, I'm going in there. What made you decide in 2017, I'm opening this amazing fragrance company?
Well, I didn't come from a field where I didn't come from a family of perfumers. I didn't grow up in the fields of France. I grew up in California. So it is a little bit of a juxtaposition, kind of an odd. I am sort of the outsider, shall we say, in the fragrance industry. But, I don't think that there should ever be any limits on, manifesting your will and your passion and your dreams. And I'm really passionate about niche fragrances. And I'm a foodie. I love fine wine. I love fine food. I'm really big into all things organic. So, when I think about, what could I dedicate myself to as a product to bring a product to market that would, not only make my life better, because I just love to have a home that smells beautiful. I love to smell beautiful myself, but also inspire others to self-care and to feel better and to consume better. To consume clean and conscious and cruelty-free, products, as opposed to, the majority of the products that are on the market that are not so. I thought, fragrance is a real perfect fit for me. I love beauty. I've been in beauty for a long time, either in front of the camera or behind the camera. I used to be a model moons ago, a long, long time ago, longer than I'd like to admit. But yeah, I used to model and I did it, all over the world. So I had an opportunity to travel, to visit, the spice markets and, climb, beautiful mountains and the trails of Peru and smelling all of the exotic scents and then coming to my own sort of discovery. My husband has been in the perfume industry for a really long time. So, although he's been in the sort of designer prestige, not so much the niche side of things, that gave me an exposure and awareness to perfume. So it just seemed like there were just so many sort of factors coming together, pushing me to do something artistic and something that would be helpful to others and also representative of my personal values, as a clean and conscious brand. And so was born Kierin.
Awesome. And I have a question for you, because this is something I wasn't aware of, but apparently the fragrance market is a men-driven market, which, like for me, a consumer, that is not, I'm not studying that market at all. I always had the impression that it was female driven. And
Yeah.
I just found out that no, it's male driven. So
Yeah.
how is it to actually, as a female, start your own brand in a male dominated market?
It's interesting. I think there are too many industries and sort of niche categories within each industry that are male dominated in the upper echelons. I mean, sure, you can find women, and if you're going to do it on a straight, ratio basis, you can find women in the service levels of, industries and corporations. But when it comes to leadership roles, women are definitely the minority in the fragrance industry. And there's a heavy bias towards sort of the 40 plus something, European white male in the fragrance category, the fragrance industry. I mean, so it's interesting because it is perfumes in general are, very much as a consumer, very much consumed by women at large. And yet in the boardrooms of some of the big conglomerates, it's very much dominated by, demographic that doesn't represent the consumer base at all. So it's kind of interesting. And it is a challenge. It is a challenge because there is a very conventional conservative mindset and how to approach perfumery. And, but then it's also easier in some sense because when, you come in as sort of a free thinker and somebody who's creative and a people person and really wanting to celebrate the artistry behind perfumery, not just the economics, not just, some sort of trend analysis that says, oh, well, amber is trending this particular season. And based on, weather patterns, this is going to be a good seller and good for our profit margins and our stocks. But if you look at it more from the genuine sort of artistry perspective, it's actually a little easier to team up with top talent, whether they be male or female perfumers. I mean, I have no bias. I just look at the pure talent. And because they just love to have that freedom, not to be so restricted in terms of the quality or, or the way in which they create. They're just, so in some sense, it's a little easier. I've been able to, partner with some amazing award-winning perfumers like Mathieu Nardin, like Jérôme Épinay, some really great artists in the creation of sort of the graphic representations of my scent stories. But in other ways, from the business level, it's been really hard because, the perfumeries are usually funded and financed by the big conglomerates. And so they are sort of the boys club. And so it's hard to break into the boys club, when you're a lady or a woman. So, but at the end, I think it's really the art that prevails. I've seen more and more people reaching out to me who initially said, oh, no, we're not going to carry your brand. Because there's such a groundswell in social media and, the popularity and sort of the mini cult following of my fragrance lovers, they're like asking their stores, why aren't you carrying Kierin? Can you please carry Kierin? And then they come to me and it's like, but wait a second. You turned me down when I came to you last time, because I didn't have the boys club pass.
Yeah, well, I guess it's all the question of law and demand. And, you just said a few, sorry.
It all works out in the end.
Yes.
We will prevail. That's my motto.
Girl. We will. No, and it's funny because I was listening to you and when I was in the corporate world, I always been in male dominated businesses. I've always been about the only female rep, or we were 2 or 3, and it is different. And what I find different, because it's exactly what you're talking about, the boys club, it's, you're not accepted in the boys club, period. But I'm
a big fan of boys. I love, I have a son, so I believe in sort of gender equality. And what that means is true gender equality. It's not only about just female empowerment, it's about empowerment of individuals across the board, and really focusing on the art of the product, the quality of the product, and not, focusing on all this other stuff, So I hear you completely.
And that's probably what makes you successful. I just feel like you gave the perfect example. A woman quite often has to do her proofs in double before they actually, come back. You just need to work harder. And that's why I love women like you. It's like strong women that are deciding, no, I'm going to beat all the odds. I'm going to go in and it's going to happen. So congratulations. And I agree with you 100% about gender equality. I have a boy and I have girls. And for me, it's the same thing, because I think it's with you that I was talking about that. And that's such a side story to it. But probably someone needs to hear it because it just came to me. It's that we're talking about gender equality. And now it seems like in a lot of places anyway, where I live, white males are the one being discriminated now because they're at the bottom of the list of who's going to get picked. It's like, I feel like there's going to be a balance that will come back at some point. But I see it with my son being a white male. Like, he doesn't have anything, special. Well, meaning in all of the minority categories. So, but it's going to come back. And that being, let's close the side note here. Yeah. But yes, all about gender equality.
Well, when I went into, in the 90s, when I was shopping, and of course, I'd be introduced to the men's fragrances through the boyfriend, right? The boyfriend cologne. So, and then I'd be like, okay, I'm going to get some of this for myself. And then I go into the stores and there would be like, oh, ladies to the left and men to the right. And, and the unisex was in those days, like nowhere to be found. I mean, there was CK1 and that was about it. There's no such thing. So, I'd have to kind of like put my hood up. Oh my God, I'm going into the boys section. I got to shop for, so it's, and I'd be like, this is ridiculous. I'm going to buy what I like. I see no gender in fragrance. I'm going to buy whatever smells good to me. And I always gravitated more towards those kind of woodsy, smooth, kind of deep scents, and less the sort of the bright candy floral fragrances. So I most often did my shopping in the men's section of the fragrance stores. But, and then when I started my own brand, I was like, I feel sorry for the guys, Why can't a guy enjoy a beautiful rose? What makes a rose so effeminate? In particular, why are we limiting and restricting men's choice and yet celebrating, women should have choice? No, everybody should have choice. Each individual should be able to define themselves how they choose to be, whatever, color in the spectrum that ends up being, just be you, and find the vibe, find the scent, find the style, whatever your, fashion sense, your hairstyle, whatever, just be you. And so I think there's very few fragrance brands that really support a gender inclusive messaging. A lot, there has been, since CK1, a lot of unisex or sexless, gender neutralizing releases, meaning, let's play to the middle. I don't want to do anything that my particular culture deems as too stereotypically male in its profile, olfactory profile. And I don't want to put anything in there that's too stereotypically female in its olfactory, profile. And so therefore I'm going to restrict myself to this tiny little library of notes that I can use that predominantly smell like soap. And that's going to be my unisex token fragrance amongst my otherwise, binary defined fragrance collection. So, a brand might have, 30 perfumes and they've got like 5 of them are unisex and all the other ones are sort of gender defined. But I don't see why we should be limited to just this small little library of notes. You can take notes from every end of the spectrum and combine them in unique and individual ways that create new stories that can then be defined however you choose to define them, whether that's soft and, sensitive or, bold and, daring. And so I don't really see the gentrification of sort of the plant kingdom as something that's natural. I think it's sort of this sort of artificial construct that has been built up around perfumery in the last 100 years that didn't exist before. It's not since the beginning of perfumery that, rose has been defined as a female scent. As a matter of fact, in Arabic cultures and some other cultures, rose is considered a masculine note. So, I just throw all that out the window.
Yeah,
and let's just focus on creating stories, fragrance stories, and whatever notes we need to pull from, center left, center right, middle, extremes. We pull them into the story, and then, that's how we build the fragrance. So
I love that you said that. First of all, I have one of my daughters has always been more attracted to men's perfume. And then I would be like, oh, that's because you like to smell that, And she was like, no, I want to wear it. And in my mind, I was just like, is everything okay? Because we're raised into, exactly what you said. It's been like that for decades, that this is women, this is men. But I see it like she changed my perspective on a lot of things, and there's nothing wrong with her. She just likes to wear different scents that are not typically female. But like you said, there's not a lot out there that, because a unisex, exactly like you said, quite often will end up, it's soap, it's safe, it's like in the middle. But I like what you're saying, that when you're creating a fragrance, you're actually creating a story. So can you walk us through creating a fragrance? I'm so curious because I absolutely love fragrances. For me, there's so many things that are related to certain smells. Like I can, in the memory, one of the most clear memory that you can have is with smells. You know,
Yes.
when they say if you sell your house, bake cookies, there's a reason. It's because it's the smell of like when we were kids or something like that. It's attractive. But yes, smells like I remember my dad's perfume. If there was a man in a public space that would wear it, I was like, oh, where is he? You
Yeah.
know, it's very strong, like the olfactive memory. So,
Yeah.
but yes, walk us through how you produce a smell or a fragrance, I
Well,
should say.
first, I always, when I start any project, I think about what am I trying to accomplish? It's not only about the fragrance that I'm going to create, because, we can create lots of beautiful, fragrances by combining, plethora of beautiful notes. But what is the emotion? What is the mood that I'm trying to inspire? Because fragrance is like a language, language of love, language, it's your soul's language. It connects, it transcends your sort of, auditory, visual processing powers and just, streamlines directly into your consciousness. So, when you think of scent and its ability to kind of transcend thought, and just immediately, instantly connect you with a feeling. What is the feeling that I'm trying to inspire? And so I think about, what's the feeling I'm trying to inspire? And then I think about moments time that I've lived in New York City, because we're a New York City centric brand. We're expressing sort of the values and the lifestyle of New York City, liberty, equality, vibrant, kind of energetic, bold, can do, kind of brand. And so I think about, okay, what are some of these moments? And one moment, for example, is the Sunday brunch. Sunday brunch is a quintessential New York City lifestyle moment where you basically come to the city, you leave your family behind in whatever town you came from or country you came from, and you come to New York City and you find a city family. You make your city friends your family, and you get together on a regular basis, whether it's weekly on a Sunday or any other day of the week, and you commune and you kind of share kind of those moments and those experiences. I did this, I dated this person, I dumped that person, my boss said this, whatever. You have that sort of camaraderie where you're coming together. Sunday brunch, is a story about individual, coming out of a New York City taxi, arriving at a West Broadway street cafe and walking into this restaurant to meet a table of their friends that are already sitting there with mimosas waiting to kind of talk about life. And so it starts off as a very cheerful Italian bergamot, lemon, open, where it's very vibrant, very clean, very joyous. And then the lemon note sort of subsides and it goes into this sort of warm Earl Grey tea, kind of earthy tea note, which is kind of representative of the conversation that you'll have, that kind of warm, embracing conversation you have with people that you trust. And then, of course, the sweet goodbye with the jasmine and the pink moss, it's sort of like in the goodbye, you have that sort of sweet floral note. So it's the idea is, you can create fragrances that have a olfactive profile and they smell like that continuously throughout their entire time on your skin. They just smell one way. And then you can create what they call fragrance stories or scent stories, which is, when you open it or when you first put it on your skin, it smells one way, but then 2 hours later, it smells sort of a different note kind of rises. One note kind of evaporates and the other note sort of takes hold. And then you have that sort of, base note that they call it. So you get top note, the heart note, and the base note. And so it tells a story from beginning to end, just like a moment in life. And so I think about the feeling that I want to create. I think about the lifestyle moment in New York City. And then I sort of write that story in my head as I've lived it. And then we think about, well, what notes, I'm working together with the perfumer, who is the true artist. I'm a scent editor. I'm not a perfumer per se. Then we, co-create sort of a fragrance that olfactively represents that story. Just like a Sunday brunch with its sort of citrusy tea blend, floral blend, represents that story of a good afternoon spent having a Sunday brunch with your friends.
I want that Sunday brunch, New York City.
Yeah.
You described it so well that I could almost smell it. And it's so interesting because, yes, it brings you through a story, which, makes me feel like I'm so boring wearing the same perfume over and over again, which will bring me to one of, 2 or 3 very technical questions, because we have the expert here. So let's take advantage of it. So they say that if you put on a fragrance on yourself and you smell it, it's because it doesn't suit you. What do you say about that? Because I know that I've been told that like forever, so might be a very old, whatever idea. But what do you think about that?
I think that there wouldn't be anything that I would put on my skin that doesn't suit me. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it again. If it didn't suit me, if I didn't feel it embodied my personality, my mood, my vibe, if it didn't add value to my life, meaning when I smell myself or when I smell, when I put it on, if it doesn't smell good to me, and if people around me don't think it suits me, or if I don't think it suits me, then I'm probably not going to wear it again. I've never heard that personally.
No, meaning, if, like, let's say my perfume, when I put it on, I can't smell it.
Yeah.
And everyone, I've been wearing it for years, so everyone is telling me like, oh, this suits you so well. But I can't smell it. So I was told if you can't smell your perfume that you're wearing, then it suits you. If you can, then you should change because it doesn't suit you. As if like the blending with your skin is not as good.
Yeah, well, maybe that's true with some fragrances. Our fragrance compilations they're not really muted. They're pretty bold. So I don't think there's an individual on the planet that wouldn't smell this fragrance that is in our collection. I know that there are some fragrances that, and I can think of a couple that are off the top of my head, that it's interesting that there's something about them, maybe an amber note or something, where not everybody has the DNA to be able to sense that note. Which I think is interesting, but that, honestly, I don't think that should limit you. I think you should be enjoying your own fragrance when you put it on. And even if other people think it suits you, I think you should probably switch it up. You should find something that you enjoy as well as them.
Yeah, I enjoy it when I put it on, but then I don't smell it anymore. So I walk in and I'm like, oh, I love the smell, but I don't smell it. And the other thing, saying that I'm boring, I can count on one hand the amount of perfumes I wore in my life. And they really go with specific parts of my life, like high school, college, university. That was one. And then one day I decided, okay, I'm grown up. I'm going towards something else. And then I wore the other one for another, let's say always only 2 years. Because I don't want to, I don't want to seem that old, but no, seriously, I go through cycles of like 7, 8, 9 years per perfume, because I feel like
you're it.
Yeah, it's a part of my identity, but I want to venture and also just be like, oh, Sunday I feel like wearing this one, and Monday I feel like wearing this one, but there's that block in my mind that you need to be associated to one scent. And some people might think I'm crazy, but I know that some people will understand what I'm saying. So how can you convince me? No, not convince me, but what do you think about what I just said?
I think in a time and an era when fragrance was very rare and, worth its weight in gold, certainly finding or making a custom compilation of a fragrance that was really a signature scent, so it was sort of symbolic of you, was an elite thing to do. Then we moved into sort of the designer scent era where, people, they wear fragrance kind of like fashion style. So you might have different sort of fashion or periods of style in your life that you think that fragrance really embodies, that style or that personality. So, your college look, and then your office look, and then your, date night look or whatever. So that, but I think we've evolved now into scent as self-care, understanding that as humans, we have all kinds of emotions. And you might be feeling, in the mood for something mellow and sort of transcendental on a Saturday, and cheerful and vibrant on a Sunday, and, clean and crisp and worksy on a Monday, and, smooth and sexy on a date night, whatever day of the week that is, or every day of the week, if you're lucky. So scent as a wardrobe is more a modern interpretation of things. I think signature scents still exist. People, will gravitate towards signature scents. But more and more people are seeing fragrance as sort of a mood enhancer or a sort of vibe enhancer, and they wear it like they would their wardrobe. So this one goes for the office, this one goes to the gym, this one goes because I'm going to the beach, this one goes because I'm going to the mountain, so they see, and they also see fragrance as this transportation, this opportunity to travel to a faraway place. I'm going to wear this lovely oud rose fragrance because I feel like, I want to be transported to the dunes of Morocco, or, this wonderful, cypress cedar, or wonderful Kierin NYC because I want to travel to New York City. So they think of, fragrance as sort of a step into another place or time. So I think the way in which we use fragrance is, kind of evolved and is different now. So I think that's why discovery sets are so important. Get a discovery set. Try a whole bunch of them. Figure out, you may like one or two, you may like 3 or 4. But it's always good to start with a discovery set before you leap into a full bottle.
Awesome. So, to conclude, I need to evolve. I need to arrive in 2022. No, I like that you said that because I love scents, but I will experiment with scents in my house.
Yes.
Like perfume, because then I can smell it. So that exactly. I go through this, or with essential oils, but I totally want to do it with myself. So let's just that's going to be my 2022. Let's be adventurous. Let's wear different perfume. So let's get back 2 seconds to, really building a big empire like this in a niche market, which is not easy. How do you keep your mindset always strong and keep going? Because I know you had some, you had some obstacles and moments that were not easy. What can you tell our listeners to, what can inspire them to, when you are going after something, don't give up, and, how to control your own mindset? Because I know you're very strong at that.
I think no one's strong all the time. We all have weaknesses. And there's a couple things when I find myself stumbling, or I find myself blocked, with something that I was really working hard on, all of a sudden, it falls apart, or all of a sudden I, have an obstacle in front of me. I just kind of step back. I take a moment to kind of forgive myself for a moment of feeling, fragile, or feeling confused, or, searching. And I kind of take the moment to kind of look inside and, kind of reassess, is this what I really want? Why do I really want this? Do I want it for the right reasons, etc.? And then I think the most important thing you can do is just take steps, baby steps. Sometimes the overall objective or the goal is so big, or the problem is so big, or the obstacles seem so permanent or insurmountable, that you look at it and you can become like, that's just, I can't, But if you say to yourself, no, take small steps, think about what it is that you need to accomplish and what can you do today, and just focused on the now. Just do the thing that you can do now. Do the thing that you can do now. And tomorrow wake up to fight another day and do the thing that you can do then, that in the now. So try and be in the now, try and stay positive. Don't get down on yourself. Forgive yourself for what we all experience, which is, moments of weakness, moments of confusion, moments of self-doubt, and realize, that's not to say that you always forge ahead. Sometimes obstacles are there to try and divert you to a new path. So you don't always necessarily want to look at the obstacle and be stubborn and say, oh no, I'm going to make this happen, whether this is good for me or not. Right? Sometimes you look at the obstacle and say, okay, well, let me internalize, let me kind of reassess, my priorities, my goals, and see whether or not this is good for me or where I want to go. And if it still is, then you just need to do the thing that you can do. And not beat yourself up too much about the things that you can't control, because maybe it's just not the time. Maybe it's not your time. Maybe you can control them, but given time. Maybe you can persevere. Maybe you can prevail, but you just need to keep stepping. You need to keep walking forward. So
I love that. And, to conclude this amazing podcast with you, I know that you're very big at manifesting. So what's your trick?
My trick, besides manifesting through my fragrance, that's a good way to manifest. I think being introspective is so important. And it's really important that we also teach our children these skills, these tools, and how to kind of self-assess and be self-aware. Because, manifesting is really about taking control of your will and trying to make it the way. Being reactive is also very action-oriented, just like manifesting is action-oriented, but it's uncontrolled action. And you don't want to just be reacting to things and reactive, because that's not manifesting. That's just kind of, going in every direction with no purpose. So in order to manifest, you really need to identify your purpose in that activity or in that moment. It doesn't have to be like the big purpose, but just a purpose. And then you have to focus on that. So to know what the purpose is, you have to be self-aware. So spending a lot of time talking and thinking and, reflecting is the best way to manifest or to start manifesting. And then it's just to, again, have the courage, and courage isn't always something that comes easy. And sometimes it's kind of that fake it till you make it. Well, it's not really faking it. It's just, don't think of courage as only this one big daring thing. Sometimes courage is in the small, quiet moments, and you can be quietly courageous. You can, move ahead, like the water flow down the hill that will over time cut through the mountain and turn all the mountains into sand and, on the beaches. So, even, there's strength and courage in all things. So, not just the big, bold, loud things.
Well, thank you for that beautiful answer. And I think that what you also summarized here is that there's no overnight success. It's all little steps, like you said. And I think the analogy of the water and mountains is perfect, because people may see you as an overnight success, but they were not there when you did that whole, building and you know what I mean.
Flowing, a lot of flow.
Yeah, I was going to say building,
a lot of mountains.
Crying, but there's not, people are not there to see those moments. They're only there to see once it's launched and once it has success. And then they're like, oh my gosh, I want this too. And then you're like, well, prepare yourself for the road ahead. There is a road ahead. So Mona, thank you so much for being with us this week. I love having, strong women like you who actually see something and decide I'm going for it, and who have beautiful success to share and words of wisdom. Thank you very much. And I will put all of Mona's information. Please go and try her fragrances. Very unique, sustainable, clean. I was going to say unisex, but that's gender free. Is that it?
Gender all. We like that.
Gender all. Sorry. So gender all. And if you have any questions or comments, you can write to me at info@simplycaroline.com. Otherwise, we will see you next week and have a beautiful week. Thanks, Mona.
Bye.